What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Mike Ritchie, and today we're going to learn the forgotten style of gypsy jazz picking. It's generally called gypsy picking now because that's the main style that uses it, but it's actually a common picking style in many old forms of music. Mostly on acoustic guitars, obviously, because this became popular well before electric guitars became a thing. We're going to hop right into this. Let's just go ahead and look at a couple of examples of what gypsy jazz picking is, and a couple of examples on how to use it, how to practice with it, and talk about the purpose of it. So this style of picking is much different than modern day picking. There's alternate picking, hybrid picking, chicken picking, all kinds of things like that. This style is very much different than all of those. It requires much different arm and hand mechanics, and honestly, when I first learned this, I had to kind of rewire my brain to learn how to do it. But I will say that I'm very glad that I did, because this is definitely my favorite picking style, especially if you play acoustic guitar, because it provides so much clarity and sound to all of your notes. So what is gypsy picking? Gypsy picking is a combination of a floating wrist, a heavy hand, a limp hand, and rest strokes on the guitar. If you don't know what a rest stroke is where you pick through the string and you actually land on the next string and rest on it. Unlike in modern picking styles like alternate picking, you never rest on any of the strings. But in this, we actually rest every single time, okay? And that's one thing that makes this picking style great, is because there's so much consistency to it that if you can do it once, you can do it again, because when you do it again, it's literally a copy of the last thing that you did. Now, let's just look at what my hand looks like when I'm doing it, okay? If you notice that my pick goes straight through the string and lands on the string below it and rests there. If I do one pick, we'll see exactly what I mean. One, and I'm resting right here. Okay? I'm actually kind of bouncing on that string, like so. And you're going to do this for every single pick in all of your solos. You're going to always rest on that next string. Even if you're playing an open string, you still rest there, okay? So let's look at an exercise that we can do. We'll play the chromatic scale. It's actually a great one that I use to warm up with anyways, to get my right hand comfortable. So before we get into any exercises, we have to set our bodies up properly to play this consistently and also relaxed, okay? And relaxation is a very important aspect of this, and I can't stress it enough, and I will not stop stressing it enough, because without relaxation, this won't work. And honestly, most things in music don't work very well if there's a lot of tension involved. But let's look at our position here. So we're sitting normally, guitars, how it's supposed to be. Our hand is hanging like this. It's the same type of hanging that we do when we play gypsy jazz rhythm guitar as well. I have a video on that if you want to learn how to play the rhythm guitar, and some of these techniques kind of cross over between the rhythm and the picking. So we have our hand hovering like this, and obviously when you're doing the picking, for me there's actually a general place that I'm always hovering, but if I'm doing the rhythm. But if I'm doing the lead guitar stuff, then you obviously need to be where the string is. But let's just focus on the top string right now. So we're going to have our hand like so. There's a small bend in it right here, okay? And we're going to be very relaxed, very, very relaxed, okay? Your arm needs to be kind of like a limp noodle in a way. It needs to be just so relaxed. You just need to have enough tension to be holding onto your pick, and that's just about it. And we need to stay that way through the entirety of the time that we're doing it as best we can. Obviously, tension is not something that you can completely run away from, right? So we're going to be relaxed. We're going to have our hand kind of hanging like so. And we're going to hit the top string, and we're just going to fall right through the string and land on that next one. Okay? Now when I'm doing this, when I hit that next string and I'm resting on it, I literally release all of the tension in my arm at that moment. So it's not only called a rest stroke because you land on the next string and hang there, but literally rest, okay? Rest on it, relax onto it. You bring the tension into your arm to do the pick, then relax, okay? And that should happen every single pick, so relax, 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 okay? It's very important. Stay relaxed. So one of the qualities of this style of picking is the tone and the loudness that it produces. And the way it produces that is because it's a heavy-handed picking style. And when I mean heavy like lifeless heavy, right? Your hand has to turn into some sort of hammer, but it's a hammer in a way you're not forcing something down. You're dropping something and letting it fall, kind of a thing. You put a little bit of pressure on it, right? But you're really letting your hand fall through that string. Just fall through it, okay? So we got some of the basics down. Let's try to look into an exercise that we can do to make this a little easier, all right? So we're going to start with the chromatic scale on the top string all the way through the bottom. But we'll start on just the top string and then we'll continue. So let's try this out. Open string first. Rest, then the upstroke. It's just a general upstroke. There's not a particular technique for the upstroke. It's really just kind of based on the rhythm. So if you practice this a lot, you'll get it over time. There's not like a particular technique, right? We're going to be using only our wrist and the twisting of our arm, okay? And it's just going to be a combination of those things. So we're not going to be using a lot of elbow here, almost at all. So just keep that in mind that it's all wrist like this, okay? So we're gonna go down on the first string. We're gonna put our index finger on F and up. Then hammer down again, let it loose, let it fall through. Upstroke again. Fall. Okay. If you notice, I rest on all of these. Now if I speed it up, you'll still see that I'm resting on all of them, like so. Even if I'm doing it even faster. And when I'm done, I'm resting again, once again, always resting, okay? So we have that first string down, let's move on to the next one. You'll notice that on the last stroke on this string with the pinky, we end up on a downstroke. So that means we're already resting on the next string that we're supposed to be picking, right? The next note, which is an open A. So you're gonna go down, up, down, up, down, and then down again. Down, up, down, up, down. And you're gonna be already on that next string again, okay? And it feels weird at first. It feels disconnected because when you're used to playing alternate picking styles, you're always doing something, right? You're always trying to find the next spot. You're always moving. But on this one, there's actually a lot of resting, again, resting on the string, resting in our body. And it's a little bit more efficient because you're already resting on the string. You don't have to lift back up and then pick that next string. You're just already on it. So we're pushing through it so it feels like a down, down. So down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down. Right? And we're going to continue through the chromatic scale like this. Now when we get to the G string, you just hit the open string and then the first 3 frets. Okay, and that leaves us with an up. You don't use the pinky on that one. So that one's a good one because you end on an up, and then you feel more like it's a natural pick, right? Then down, and it's the same thing for the next 2 strings. Down, up, down, up, down. Already resting on the next one. Down, up, down, up, down. Okay? So just stay relaxed through all of those. You're going to have the feeling when you're resting on the next string to want to lift up and pick it. But don't do that. You stay resting and then you push through, okay? So there's a rule in Gypsy Jazz picking that is, it's every time you switch a string, you downstroke every single time, no matter what, okay? Now, rules are meant to be broken, but rules are also there to kind of guide us into what is generally supposed to be the idea. There's not many places where this will be broken. If you play this style, you'll find even the way like the patterns in the arpeggios and stuff like that, they work very well for the style where you do a downstroke every single time you switch a string. But at first, this feels super weird. It's just something you got to do slow and get used to. Okay, so when we're descending on this chromatic scale, just going back through what we went through, you're going to find that, let's see here, down, up, down, up, down. Well, what do you notice? We have to go to that next string that's up. Well, the last stroke was a downstroke. And every time you switch strings, you have to do a downstroke. So you'll notice that on this part, we're doing a double down. And this is probably the hardest part, hands down, of this style of picking. Because you're doing a lot of double downs. And to do that, you have to stay relaxed, okay? If you're tensed up, it's just not going to work out. So if we watch my hand closely here, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. Okay? Resting every single time, no matter what. So that's kind of weird. If you're not used to this yet, maybe skip the entire thing and just take it down to 2 strings and kind of like, compartmentalize this entire thing so that you can just focus for a second instead of worrying about all of the notes, right? So we're gonna do it. We're gonna descend, but just on the top 2. Down, down, up, down, up, down. It's going to feel super alien and weird at first. Don't be too scared of it, okay? When I first learned this, I had to rewire my brain, okay? It's tough. But once you get it, I guarantee you're going to love this picking style, especially if you play acoustic guitar, because it's going to provide you with volume and clarity. And another thing that's great about this is that one of the key things to Gypsy Jazz is everything is consistent and even in the rhythm and the lead playing. So when you listen to Gypsy Jazz players, you'll know that they're not having like a hard stroke and then an easy one. So it's like some kind of lopsided thing, right? It's very much like... Right, every note is very crispy and clear and equal in volume to the last note. And that's also another consideration that you have to be thinking about when learning this style of picking, is that you want everything to sound even. So when I'm doing a downstroke here, I listen to that and I try to get the same upstroke. So another element of this that has to do with relaxation, to get this right to where it's comfortable and you don't feel like you're struggling, is you're really, since we're using just our wrist and our arm motion, twisting like this, right? It's like this motion. Since we're doing that, we're really mainly activating our tendons. Right, we're using our tendons to do twisting and pulling motions. We're not using a lot of muscle. Okay, we're not tensing up our muscles. It's almost like a twitch, almost, right? And that's how you get the, especially the double downs. It's really twitchy feeling when you're just like, right? You stay very relaxed because you focus on your tendons pulling like a little pulley system. Okay. We're not tensing up our muscles here. So if you can just kind of try to focus on that. This tendon right here is the one that's always kind of popping my wrist back, like so, to get to that downstroke, to keep going, descend down the arpeggios or whatever it is, descend down the strings. With that in mind, let's go on to the next example that we have. And this example is actually the example that I learned this style from. And it was taught to me by the great Dennis Chong, if you guys know him, or Dennis Chang, depending on how you want to say it. Dennis Chong is a great Gypsy Jazz guitar player and teacher. He has a school, it's dcmusicschool.com. You guys should check it out. There's a ton of Gypsy Jazz content on there. He's actually the one that showed me this next exercise, and this next exercise is the one that I did over and over, along with practicing it with other things, but this is the one that I began with, and honestly, even till this day, seems to make the most sense for isolating this motion, having the consistent downstrokes, and it not being too difficult. So let's take a look at it. It's an A minor arpeggio. All right, so we're going to start on the 15th fret up here. Sorry, 17th fret. And we're going to go down an A minor arpeggio around this A minor voicing. So it's 17, 12, 13, 14, and then we're going to shift 9, 10, 12, and then we just ascend back through that. Okay, now that we have those notes together, we're going to focus on the picking. So let's see how this is picked. Since there's 2 notes on the first string, depending on the speed that you're doing this in, you can do it all downstrokes, like down, down right there, or you can do it down, up. Either is fine. So we're going to go, just for the sake of this, just say we're doing this fast, right? So we're going to do down, up, then down. Remember, we're resting. Then you're going to pop back up and do another down. Okay? Now the next note is on the same string, but it requires a shift. So we leave this hand over here relaxed and resting on that string when we shift. There's a tendency to want to, like when you're shifting to do something else, to want to lift your hand up, because it's like this motion of like we're getting off of the guitar and then we're landing back somewhere else. But that's not what we're doing here. We're going to go down, up, down, down, stay rested, then shift. See how I did not move my right hand at all. Then we're going to do up, down, down. Okay? So when you're ascending, everything is a downstroke. It's the same concept. You know, if you have 2 notes on one string, then you do down, up on it, obviously. But if you have consistent notes that just 1 note per string, then you will just, it'll feel like a sweep, right? You're going down and just through your down, rest, down, rest. So we're going to start at the top. So I'm already resting here. Resting all the time. Again, same thing with this one. We're going to shift again back to that other note up here on the 14th fret. So we're not going to move our right hand. We're going to wait till we get to where we need to be. And then we're going to upstroke on it. Down, rest, down. And then at this point, we're on the high E string and there's nothing to rest on. So a lot of people are like, well, what do you do when there's no string to rest on? Well, you really don't do anything. You just go through it and you just don't go too far, right? If you start doing this a lot, you'll get it to where when you go past that high E string, you'll kind of leave your pick in the general vicinity of where it would be if there were a string there, okay? So just to start from here again, a 14, down, 13, down, 12, down, up, okay? And then since in this case, we ended on here with an up, so we're gonna go back here, down, 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 up, down, down. All together. You might have noticed on this one, when I get to the top again on here, I actually end up doing a double down right there. And it's because of the speed of this lick, because in Gypsy Jazz, you want that consistency. So we're doing downstrokes most of the time if we're not under some kind of a high speed thing, right? So if I'm just playing something like this, right, right, you'll do all downstrokes, or you might be like, right, those are all downstrokes. So when we're moving slowly, we can really do the downstrokes, keep the consistency, keep the volume, because no matter what we try to do as guitar players, the upstroke is just never ever going to be exactly like the downstroke, right? So if we have slow enough time, we'll do all downstrokes, but that's really up to you. Once you get to a certain level with this, your upstrokes sound good enough, and honestly, no one in the world is really going to notice if it's just somewhat consistent. Okay, so when I get down to that last part here, I go down, 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 and then I just do another downstroke. Down, 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 down. Right, kind of bouncing on that string. Right, so let's look at it again. Okay, I guarantee if you sit down with a metronome and just do this for a while and make sure that you're resting every single time. That's the key, because I'll tell you what happens. When you first start doing this, you're going to play the first two notes, and you're like, okay, cool, and you're going to go down, rest, and as soon as you have to shift and do that upstroke, you're not going to be resting anymore. You're going to do a down pick, maybe. You might do a down pick and a down pick, but you're going to pick and come off the string. It happens all the time. I've seen it 1,000 times. Okay, so we need to be watching ourselves as well. So, some people have a tendency to look at their left hand when they're on the playing guitar, or some people look at their right hand. In this case, we are focusing on picking technique, so we need to be looking at our right hand to make sure we're resting. You need to watch it and see. And if you have a problem with that, film yourself. Use your phone and, film yourself doing this. Okay? So, again, great exercise. Thanks, Dennis Chong. He's the one that taught me most of the Gypsy Jazz techniques. I spent a little bit of time with him, and he really got me going on this. So check him out. He's awesome. He'll get you up to speed. All right, so let's just look at another concept here. And this isn't an exercise necessarily, as far as playing something, but it's just it's kind of another rhythm thing that happens in Gypsy Jazz, and it also helps with this picking style, especially if you don't want to put in a ton of effort over here. Maybe some of this is kind of difficult for you. So it's really, we're just going to hold one note, and it's kind of a rhythmic thing. So it's down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, right? Down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. So down, up. Okay, it's kind of a cool. Right, down, up, down, 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 down, up. It's a rhythmic thing, and it also helps a lot with doing this. You can just chill and do this if you're really learning just this for the first time. Just helps with the downstrokes, and you can focus on that one string. So, but you rest every single time, right? So down, up, rest, rest, up, rest, rest, up, rest, rest, up, rest, rest, up, rest, rest. Okay. It's a cool little thing, and you can really nail that in. All right. So there's another thing with this picking style that happens when we do ornamentations. Okay. So especially hammer-on pull-offs. So you'll hear this a lot in Gypsy Jazz. Right. So when I've taught this to folks in the past, they take an electric guitar kind of approach to this, to where they're doing like a hammer-on, and then a pull-off, and a slide, and a hammer-on, and they might something like that. It sounds super weak on the acoustic guitar. On the electric guitar, obviously, it can come through very loud and clear and nice. But to keep, again, the consistency of our sound for this style of music, we actually pick all of those notes except for the pull-off, which also feels weird at first if you're not used to this, because a lot of people are hammer-on pull-off everywhere type people because they grew up playing electric guitar like myself. So let's just look at this, right? That's electric guitar style. Here's the Gypsy Jazz picking version of it. Down. Then we're going to upstroke the pull off. So you're not going to hammer onto this next note. You're going to just... So it's... And then down, up. And then you just do it quickly. So I'm trying to figure out a couple different licks here that feel weird with this style that aren't too hard and kind of get you moving. So we did a couple things so far. Let's try another A minor lick here that's actually very common in the style. And it involves us flattening our finger to go up an arpeggio. So let's check it out here. You'll hear this all the time from every single player. It's just kind of one of those common idioms that happen in this style of music. It's also super fun to play on top of that. So let's check out what that is and talk about why it's a little bit weird when you're first learning this style. So we're going to be focusing on A minor. Okay. And we're going to outline the chord by starting on the 3rd. Then we're going to go to the major 7, the 9, then A. All right. We're going to move our ring finger to the 6. And then here's where it's a little weird, especially when learning this style of picking, because I don't know why these just don't, at least for me, didn't match up very well. When you have to flatten your finger and then pick, it feels kind of weird. But anyways, we end up on our ring finger here, and we flatten our index over the next 2 strings, or the same string in the next one. Pick those 2. And then if you want to add that little bend in there, right to the 6th, kind of nice. So the thing about this one is that you're going to have to downstroke through that flattened finger. So we're going to look at the picking pattern on this one. It's down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down. Still resting. We rest on all of these, remember. Down, up, down, rest. Down, up. Alright, there's one more thing I want to show you guys. It's a full 6-string arpeggio, which I actually have shown in a couple of my other videos, but this is another great one for the gypsy picking thing, especially if you want to feel what it's like to go from the bottom to the top and then back. So let's take a look at it real quick. We're going to start, it's G major, we're going to start on the 3rd fret, and then 7, 5, flatten your finger, 5, 9, 7, 8, 7, 10. That's the whole thing, and we have to go back through it. Now, the reason why this is so nice is because you go down, up, down, down, up, down, 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 up, and then when you go back through it, there's so many downstrokes in there that it's kind of tough, but it's also a good thing to use to learn with. So the last one was an up, down, 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 up, down, down, up. Okay. These are all great exercises to use with this picking style. This picking style is tough to do. Don't give up on it though. I will say one more thing about this picking style that I think is also important is that when you have your hand hovering over the guitar and picking, if you're not used to this style and you haven't figured it out yet, what happened to me when I first started is I had a tendency to start, say I was going from the bottom string to the top, would start here, and then my pick would move back in like a crescent shape motion. So I'd be picking like this, okay? And that's terrible for a lot of reasons. But the main reason is sound, right? Because the guitar has a lot of different timbres to it based upon where your pick is on the string in relation to the bridge and the rest of the guitar. So what we want to focus on with this picking style is, just a general rule here, is that we're going to be picking just on the edge here of the circle, of the sound hole, okay? So when I first started doing this, man, it was really tough for me to get my pick to go up and down, not crescent shape moving, okay? A friend of mine came over to my house and I was expressing my disdain for myself not being able to do this, and he was like, you know what you should do is put your phone on the ground and film up, and to where you get that lower sight from your hand, and just keep messing with your technique until you can get it to where it's up and down. And that actually ended up helping me a lot because I could pinpoint what I was doing, so I could learn to correct it. So now when I pick, it's mostly straight up and down. You know, there might be some variation in there for sure. Okay, folks, I hope you can see me. This happens every single video. Okay, I need to get a bigger memory card for my camera, but it's full, so I'm going to continue on here real quick. We were talking about the pick motion here being straight up and down. It's very important because of consistency of sound, right? So if I pick right here, it's not near as it's not the same at all as if I'm picking here. And same way with everywhere else in the spectrum of this picking range here. So that's why we need to learn to pick up and down, because it's the same spot every time for, again, consistency of sound, okay? So that's all that I have today for teaching these things. The only thing I want to talk about for just a few more seconds is, again, the reiteration of the importance of relaxation. Okay, so when I'm practicing guitar, I still practice it to this day, every single time. I talked about this in another video of mine, that when you're practicing guitar, you will build up tension in your arms, you will build up tension in your forearm here, and your back, and your shoulders, things like that. And you need to be aware of that. So when you're doing this exercise, and you're doing it over and over and over, you're going to keep building that tension up. So you need to keep that in your mind and focus on the fact, if you're getting tense, you need to stop and relax. Okay, so what I do is I stop and I drop my arm to the side like this, and I relax it from the top of my shoulder here all the way down to the tips of my fingers. And I relax myself, okay? And I make sure that when I go back to play, I stay relaxed. So I'm coming back up, staying relaxed the whole time. And then continue again, but stay relaxed. Okay? It's very important to stay relaxed. If you can't stay relaxed, you won't be, your notes won't be consistent. They won't be consistent in volume, likely won't be consistent in time. You also risk injury in a lot of ways. I've almost hurt my wrists multiple times in the beginning because of just tension, you know. And it still happens periodically. Today, if I'm having a tense day, then I go play a gig, and for some reason on the gig, I don't feel like I'm loud enough. So then I have to be louder, or especially it happens in a jam session if my guitar is getting blown out of the water by other people's guitars who are way louder. And then so I'll be really pushing it, and by the end of the jam session or the show, my wrist will be really hurting a lot, you know. So I still practice relaxation to this day every time I play, every time I practice. So it's very important. I hope that you guys got something out of this video. I hope this all made sense. I felt like it was kind of rambly, but if you have any questions at all, concerns, comments, please like and subscribe. I would love to keep bringing more of this content to you guys. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys' time, and I'll see you in the next one.